of the nation. But before we move to this main conversation, I want to give Honorable Basil an opportunity to respond because he had something to say as far as the issue of cabinet reconstitution is concerned. Okay, let me start with you.
Yeah. Thank you. Actually, I wanted to guide my friend here, Mr. Odoyo, when he said that the government should have remained as it is. Remember, Kenyans wanted a lean government simply because the bloated government is what prompted the government to bring here the finance bill of 2024. The new taxes to be able to absorb the increased recurrent expenditures. If you look at our constitution, the maximum we should have is 22 CS, the minimum 14. Kenyans wanted that minimum so that we can shed off the unnecessary expenditure and have savings that could go to development. And that will have been done without necessarily bringing new taxes. Now, we have 51 PS. You ask yourself, why do you need 51 PS and you have 22 even cabinet positions or 22 ministries? Why can't we have 22 PS to align with the ministries? The increased number of the PS could actually mean that money can be diverted to development. Because the more you have a bloated government, it means you are prompted to look for resources to finance such. And that's why we have been seeing a continuous wave of new taxes being introduced. If you talk of parastatals, Kenya has 290 parastatals. And these parastatals come with a baggage of recurrent expenditures. You ask yourself, why do you need 290 parastatals? What role are they playing? Why can't we reduce the number from 290 to maximum above 60 or 80? If you talk of emissaries, embassies, Kenya has over 47 emissaries and 27 consulates. Do we need all these? You know, some of the embassies are not even adding value to this country. If you look at a country, a progressive government like the UK, in East Africa, if you are staying in Uganda and you want to go to the UK, your passport is processed in Nairobi. If you are staying in Tanzania and you want to go to the UK, your visa is processed in Nairobi. They have a regional office supporting East Africa region. Why can't we emulate some of these good practices so that our country can be progressive? So it is simple, and any patriot will say, this is the time to reduce on our recurrent expenditures.
Okay.
And we should not just talk. Let's walk the talk. So that's why when I hear my brother talking about trying to say, why are people agitated when now the president is Ruto? It's not about Ruto being the president. It's about where we are as a nation and where we want to go.
All right.
The same applies to, if you talk of opulence, it's good if you have money and you have acquired the money rightfully, no one says you should not show off. But the reason why we say state officers, lifestyle audit has to be done to them. Remember, most of them are living on taxpayers' money. And it's a shame when you are being paid by taxpayers to show opulence, show off to the same people who are struggling to live, even to access or to meet basic needs in their families.
All right, Honorable Basil, thank you so much for that. I want us to get into our State of the Nation conversation this particular morning and looking at what is happening on the political front. And this has to do with issues to do with, the deputy president, of course, with the president speaking on different, reading from different scripts, and also the opposition leader coming into government as far as, the formation, reconstitution of cabinet is concerned. And this has, the broad-based government, this is exactly what it was termed. Let me start with this one. We've seen, to some extent, with what we are actually talking about, and this has to do with the coming in of the opposition members into the cabinet. Of course, we're talking about close to 5 of them who have been vetted already, and from your own words, you say it's just going to be rubber stamped. To some extent, you're not going to see any of them being thrown out. The idea of creating a broad-based government by the head of state. Let me start with you, what your take is on that front. Is this the solution that we are actually looking for as a nation to heal some of the issues that have been the ills that have been in this government ever since it was elected in power?
Kenyans are people who defend the people they like and what they like, and they oppose anything that they don't like. If you look at what has happened, the so-called Gen Z's revolution, this thing that is something that was very well planned by individuals who thought it is them who are better on being in power rather than President William Ruto. What was used here is what we call artificial intelligence, that people who used to have following on social media of 40,000 suddenly were having 250 with a well-arranged and planned thing to get the president out of office. And when this became clear, it was now important to go back and say, how do we support the president to also, like all other past presidents, finish his term and be valued over a period of 5 years? So, you know, this is the country where somebody comes and say, this government is going to be run on people with shares in it by virtue of voting. When in my own sense, I understand that political parties, of course, which win, form governments, but services are delivered to everyone. And you people did not listen to what I listened to when there was a meeting called the Limuru 3. In Limuru 3, the language that was spoken there, if Kenyans all had it and understood what was being said, it was horrible. It was a plan to remove the president from office. There are people who came and said the president must leave office before 2027, irrespective of what happens. And there are people who urged their families and children to be allowed in the streets to help remove the president. It was nothing to do with the finance bill. In any case, as soon as the amendments were made to finance bill, they wanted the whole of it dropped. As soon as the whole of it dropped, they wanted the cabinet down. As soon as the cabinet down, they wanted the chief of police out. As soon as that is out, now they want the president out. Is that what we want in this country? And let me tell you, if we allow these things to go the way they are going, you are not going to take these Gen Zs back to barracks. Anybody who will take power will be removed the same way for very flimsy reasons. I think we need to go back to a country where we use the rule of law. Even if you don't agree with the law, just think of changing it. But don't tell the president he has not broken any law, and you tell him, as we think from where we are sitting outside, that you should have 15 ministries and not 22. Let him have his 22 and judge him at the election with his 22. Let it have the things he wants to do, as long as they follow the constitutions, and judge him at the end of it with what he has achieved. But coming to tell us that the president is failing when he has only had the second budget, and I think that is very unfair.
Okay, Morara, this is the thing. Let the president have his 22 cabinet secretaries. We want to create a broad-based government. So for us to accommodate everyone that, you know, will be quote-unquote the face of the country, we need the 22 and not the 15 that you're actually suggesting. By the way, we could actually cover that. So if at all we need to achieve the broad-based government, do we need to have 22 or do we need to have 15? How do we go about this?
I always say, and will continue to say, that President William Ruto is the master of lies. And he lies about everything, and sometimes he forgets that he lied. You know, the president said that right now, when he was deputy president campaigning to be president, he said we have a mongrel of a government. That's the word he used. He said there is no difference between opposition and government, and for that reason the opposition has been unable to keep the government to account. Now he has brought the opposition into government. And essentially what he is trying to do is to divert our attention from the issues that the young people of this country are agitating for. We are not agitating for William Ruto to be removed through unconstitutional means. That's not our mission. But indeed, if the president has refused to listen to the very people that put him in power, then his time is up. Mr. Odoyo Witi says that we have to wait to 2027. And I say, no, we are not that patient. We are not going to be that patient with William Ruto if he is not going to be honest with Kenyans and start providing real solutions, because the kind of solutions he's providing now are tribal solutions. He's trying to take us back. The youth of this country have said we are tribeless, and we want to move forward in a way that we build institutions that can be sustained over time. But the president is insisting on taking us back into regional balkanization and tribal politics, where Nasema Mutu wetu has been put into the government and therefore we should be happy. What do I care if Akisi has been put as the Ministry of Education? How does it change my life? How does it make my life better as the young person of this country? What do I care if a lawyer has been put into the government? Personally, I don't even care if the president is a Muhindi or a white man. We just want a system that works. And right now we are saying the system is broken. And William Ruto is now the biggest obstacle towards the young people of Kenya determining their future and changing this system.
Now, you say we don't have to wait till 2027. To some extent, we did say, you know, wait till when you can actually gather enough votes in 2027, you make a decision as far as electing someone else is concerned. But for now, we have to deal with this one. If you don't wait until 2027, what's the short-term solution in between?
The short-term solution is this. If we had a working parliament, Ruto should not even be president by now. He is corrupt. He is a killer. He should have been removed by now. But because we don't have a working parliament, it has been bought by the executive. Now, on the 8th of August, as the youth of this country, we will be in the streets like sand next to a beach.
Okay.
And we are going to be telling the president that he either shapes up or ships out. And if he is not going to bring real change into our country, he has a grand opportunity to be the hero of the moment and do the changes that people have been waiting for years. If he is unwilling, no problem. The young people of this country are not unable to be presidents. We are not incompetent. We are not uneducated. And luckily, we are not corrupt. And luckily also, we are not, we have integrity. Unlike him who's been involved in trying to sell Ngong land to Kenya Pipeline Corporation, unlike him who has been involved in the Aurora and Kimwarer case, unlike him who has been a person of interest, who has been an accused person at the ICC, and now the cases were dropped because witnesses died mysteriously.
No. Okay, so yeah? we'll hold it at that. Let me come to you. This is the thing. You've been called parliament that is not functional. You sit in the National Assembly. Are you functional or you're not functional?
You know, when you talk of parliament that is not working, I think it needs to be specific. You should be talking of Kenya Kwanza members of parliament who are not doing their independent role. You should be talking of ODM members now who have joined the government. Remember, some of us, tirelessly, we have been with the people. We have tried to guide the government where possible. We have tried to deliver and discharge our functions as independent-minded members of parliament, in line with what our electorates want done. Remember, we are people's representative. So when you talk of members who are not parliament that is not working, I think that's not fair. You have to be specific and only mention or make reference to members of parliament who are not able to do their job independently and who are succumbing to party ideals and are making a very specific example to the Kenya Kwanza. You saw very well in 2024 finance bill, where most of them voted yes. And when the president dropped it, they were all clapping, which was basically a paradox. Here you said yes to something, which you know for sure is not good, and when it's dropped by the president, you're happy about it, meaning you are not thinking independently. And those are the people you should be talking of, not all members of parliament.
So it's not a blanket condemnation?
No, because we are doing our job. I mean, I've told him some of us are doing work as per the duties and functions stipulated in the Constitution and in line with our electorates, who we represent in the August House.
Okay, let me ask you this. There's a call for broad-based government. You come from the coalition that is opposition. You're not interested in having a seat at the table?
The issue, I don't agree with what we refer as broad-based government. What we have, and even the president himself, when he was elected, he said, I'll never allow Nusumukate government. The broad-based government is basically Nusumukate, where people sit in a table like the way we are sat here, and you agree on positions. Is give and take kind of arrangement, and which does not merit the interests of the Kenyans. Kenyans want good governance, government that is not characterized by graft, governance that's not characterized by negative ethnicity, like what we have witnessed from 1963, where you see some areas have excess of services when others do not have anything. Where you talk of, if you give an example, electricity connectivity, the areas with over 70% electricity connectivity when others do not have anything. I'll give an example in my constituency, Yata. The rural electricity connectivity stands at less than 30%. And we are how many years after independence? 60 years. Some of the, if you talk of teacher-student ratio, you can't even meet the sphere standards or the global standards of student-teacher ratio. Most of the parents are paying for their teachers, the BOM teachers, shouldering that burden, yet they are taxpayers. You know, when you go to other constituencies, you find all teachers are paid by government. So this level of disparity is what Kenyans are saying we don't want to see. If you talk of tarmac road, in my constituency, I have less than 1% tarmac road from 1963. So in your if you go to other areas, you have 99.9% of bitumen upgraded roads. So, and then you ask yourself, do these people pay more taxes than my people? The answer is no.
What I'm getting from you is that so what has been put in place right now, what is actually
what we wanted is not just a broad-based government, but we wanted government that has people of competency, Kenyans who can deliver. If I was the president, instead of sitting with Raila to agree on who is going to take what positions, he would have identified an independent hiring company who would have assisted him to filter. You know, I'll talk of Working Associates. That's a global, renowned organization that assists to do recruitment, where you tell Kenyans, apply, and you develop terms of reference for different positions. If you talk of millions of Kenyans who have the qualifications, then you subject them to written tests based on the criteria to filter. Then eventually you are given, each means, let's say 3 people. Now you are told pick from these 3, regardless of which tribe they represent. And then you have a lean government. That would have restored the trust Kenyans want. But if you sit down and you say, give me members, and then you assume you have solved the problem. That is like having a hood, you don't treat the hood, you bandage the hood without treatment, and you assume that particular wound is going to heal. The answer is no.
This wound is not going to heal, according to Honorable Basil. This is the idea of a broad-based government is not something that you're actually looking for. But from where you sit, is this the best solution moving forward in terms of serving the government? And I want, as you comment on that one, also comment on the idea that the opposition coming into government when say we're actually serving a government that was was on the bridge of collapse.
Actually, there was no government that was on the bridge of collapse. There is a serious conspiracy of this Gen Z thing. If you listen to the ex-spaces, those who are inciting Gen Zs to go to the street, say on 8/8, it is Miguna, it is Kivuta Kivwana, it is Willy Mutunga, it is Agostino Neto. Those are old people who are even there before the president. And the Gen Zs are telling us this is their own. They are tribeless, they are leaderless. They are tribeless. And I heard the Nyeri governor saying, the Gen Zs have said this and that must be done. He was talking as who? When on 25th, the Gen Zs breached parliament, where was the DP? He was in Mombasa, waiting to give a statement on behalf of the Gen Zs. He told us that day, earlier, that you see, these people are leaderless, they are tribeless, they are all-less. But then he came to tell us that in that same speech, that he is asking them now to come out and give a statement that they have stopped the maandamanos. Who was going to come out and say this? These posters that we see, these demands that we see, these rejections that we see, who is doing them? This thing has leaders. This thing has people behind them financing it and leading them. When Morara talks about tribal...
They've told you a number without time in terms that they don't have a leader. Why do you always...
Because I see. You can't... It is not what you tell me. It is what I observe. I observe that there are clear leadership, clear financing, clear organization. When we had that concert at Uhuru Park, who financed it? Who built those tents? Who did those posters if it is leaderless? And I have told you, go to X-Spaces in the evenings and see who leads those X-Spaces and see who speaks and see who hosts them. And I told you this thing is being done by what is called artificial intelligence. They even can evaluate how many people are going to come to the cities. And let me tell you, if we continue going like this, you know, you only need 100,000 people to overthrow a government. 100,000. In fact, the people who are in town on the 25th were not even reaching 100,000. What about a president who is elected by, say, 9 million people, and somebody who lost with 1 million votes? He can take just a quarter of his supporters and use that to overrun town. We have been told time and again that, oh, you see, peaceful demos are in the Constitution. I know it is, but it has to be peaceful. When you burn Sunbeam House, the whole building, plus 3 people inside, and you don't talk about it on the second day, you keep on chasing one person who was shot dead on the first day of the Mandamano, and we are still talking about it today. But innocent people doing business in Sunbeam Mall died, and nobody's talking about them. Uganda House was set on fire. Nobody's talking about them. Let us be fair. It's like there's a conspiracy to undermine the government of President William Ruto. And even the demands needs to be measurable. You can't come telling us the president must stop corruption. How will you know it's been stopped? If you don't stop the Mandamano and give him maybe 6 months to see if the corruption is
to be fair to the nation, the president has been given time ever since he was elected. And some of these things
from the time of protest, he has not been given time, because the measurable things like dissolve cabinet, he did it. The measurable things like drop the finance bill, he did. But the ones that are non-objective, that the ones you can't say it is going to be done with the switch of a button, it has to take time. And see, actually, he appointed a new cabinet. One cabinet minister tried to do A and was taken to jail. Okay. That you have to wait and see.
Let me just come in right there. Mr. Odowiti says that the leader of the Gen Z is artificial intelligence.
No.
I'm a Gen Z myself. I'm a Gen Z myself. Let me confirm to him, all right, that personally nobody has funded me to be on this interview. It is true that the President William Ruto has enemies. And it is true that when there is agitation against the president, the enemies of the president will come into play. And the enemies of the president, they are not small, and they are billionaires, and they are powerful. But that is not our issue. We are not going to stop agitating for good governance merely because the president has made enemies. If the president has made his enemies, that's between him and his enemies. What we are saying is we need good governance, and we don't mind whether the other president is a Kalenjin or whether it's an Indian. All we want is, first, we need to reduce the wastage of public funds. We need to reduce the size of government. We need to reduce money that is lost through corruption. It is as if the president has silently permitted corruption, all right? Because some of even the cabinet secretaries that are coming back or that have been brought into government, they have corruption cases. So meaning the president is actually very much aware of this corruption, and he accepts it as a way of life. The reason I'm, you know, church leaders
I want to take a break, but I want to bring you on this before I take a break.
I will lose my line of thought. Church leaders and civic leaders and people like Mr. Odowiti have said that demonstrations must be peaceful. It is politicians that hire goons to come and burn property and loot people's shops to discredit what the young people are agitating for. This is what I can tell you this morning. If indeed a broad-based government was a solution to the problems of Kenya, yes, the president has formed his so-called broad-based government. He has brought Raila into government. Why is still agitation on the street? Is it to say that all these young people that are talking on TikTok, that are talking on Facebook, that are talking on X, they've been funded? Are you going to fund millions of young people to talk about their issues? It is nonsensical. It is something that, you know, it cannot even be believed by a person who has the least amount of education. Okay, now, so let's not discredit what the young people are saying.
This is the thing. 30 seconds before I take a break, Raila Odinga says, I came in to save a government that is on the bridge of collapse. So do you believe that he's coming into government is actually saving it, or the government was not collapsing?
He's coming into government to steal some money for himself.
No, we are not sure about that. Don't say that.
Yeah, that's the truth. You see, the problem with Kenya is that there is such, the truth is, you know, we run away from the truth. The president said, mimi nataka niwaeleze hivi. there is no government official that will be allowed to do harambes in church. The next weekend, he was doing a harambe. The president said, mimi nimetoa budget ya first lady na second lady. It was returned. Okay, the president said, it's the amount of things that the president has said and he was lying are countless.
Okay, I want to take a break here on New Dawn. Morara, thank you so much. When you come back, we'll be playing a clip there before we get into the next bit of this conversation here on the state of the nation, taking a look at the political intrigues in the country, and also we'll be focusing on the deputy president and what his relationship with the head of state currently is at. What exactly does that mean for the nation moving forward? All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back in a few.
DJ Bludgy, K24 TV Mix Master.
Leo ni kufinish to my low.
Like a